The source of genetic information is DNA. Now, what is the shape of DNA? Is it one long strand? In that case, all the traits would be linked together. But we saw when we were studying the crosses that new combinations also appear, which means that genetic information is not just one long strand. There are many long strands, and these are called chromosomes. And each chromosomes will have its own genetic constitution, which means the different type of genes will be present on different chromosomes. But of course, the genetic pattern or the genetic composition would be more or less same of two chromosomes. One that comes from father and the other that comes from mother. You will wonder, but their features are different. How am I saying that they are same chromosomes? What I am saying is that the gene for the trait, like gene for height, gene for color of eyes, gene for color of hair. So, one chromosome will have say these genes only. The expression of the gene may be different, like one is tall, one is dwarf, one is black eyes, another is blue eyes, black hair, brown hair. So, the expression may be different, but the gene for the trait is same. So, this point was to understand that genes are located on separate long threads called chromosomes. I am sure this must have clarified some of your understanding about the inheritance. In your NCERT book, they have given an illustration. They have taken a part of the forest which has two type of beetles in it, red color and some are green. Now you know red color beetles in the bushes can be seen very easily because bright color, different color. Now the crows like to eat the beetles. Obviously it is convenient to see the red ones, so the red ones will start disappearing, while the green ones have the advantage that they get camouflaged in the green leaves. So a time will come when the green beetles will become dominant, right? Now say in another case, the variation is between red and blue. Now both are equally, visible. So what is going to happen now? The crows have all the feast. They can eat the blue ones also, they can eat the red ones also. But imagine in a forest anything can happen. Say a stone falls there, or an elephant keeps its foot there, or a tree falls on it, and some of the beetles get consumed, they die. Now what is left? Say if there are more blue, then what is going to happen? The area will become dominant in blue beetles. In the third situation, what happened? The plants on which these beetles were feeding, they developed a disease. So sad. So the plants started becoming less and less. Beetles didn't get food, so they became thin. After some time, the disease disappeared. The beetles again started getting food and they started becoming fat. That means this feature was only for a little while and this was not passed on to the next generations. Had it been, then the beetle would not have gained weight. That loss or gain of weight was only an acquired character. It was not a truly inherited character. Here whatever has happened has happened because of the crow. Crows in a way naturally selected the green beetles because they consumed the red ones. This was accidental, this was only acquired. So that means that in the way a species becomes dominant is a process of natural selection. You know, there was a very famous scientist, Charles Darwin, who has told us about organic evolution. At the age of 22, he traveled to the South America and the coasts of South America. He studied those islands and he studied the flora and the fauna, and then he came back and never traveled again. But on the basis of his observations, he said that the world or this diversity in nature is not a miracle. It is not something which has happened by design, but it has happened because of organic evolution. From there came the idea of organic evolution and the natural selection. Now, going back to our beetles, something else can also happen. Say if the area of that plantation was or that forest was spread on a very huge or vast land. Now, but the beetles would not travel to say 10 miles away or so many kilometers away just to feed. They will remain isolated to small portions. Now, there is a possibility over a period of time, due to natural selection, the beetles which are in one part of the forest would be slightly or maybe vastly different from the other end. Now, for example, say this is the forest. So, here also the beetles are feeding, here also they are feeding. So, there is a possibility that after many generations, the beetles of say this land, that is X, and beetles of this land Y would be quite different from each other. There will be a drift or there will be a change in their genetic composition. This is called genetic drift. There is also a possibility that when some of these beetles, even when they reach here, they may not mate with each other. The reproduction will not take place because there is so much of genetic difference. So, this is the creation of a subspecies, and this is how new evolution takes place, or you can say new species are produced. This is about natural selection and genetic drift. So, the 2 points which are most important in the evolution are genetic drift and natural selection. These two features are responsible for making new species, which is called speciation. The examples that we took, say in the case of beetles, we were talking of very subtle changes like change of color. But there is a possibility over many generations, due to accumulation of variations, the two individuals may be entirely different from each other. So much so that they are then grouped differently. What is a species? Species is a group of organisms which have a large number of similarities. When the similarities will reduce, then they cannot be put in same species. So, this is how new species are created, by the accumulation of variations. Accumulation of variations.